Mike. Toronto. VK on the beat. Check. I'm in Toronto where you wanna get the city love. I'm from Toronto where you wanna get the city love. I'm in Toronto like we wanna get the city love. My city love me back for my city love. I'm in Toronto where you wanna get
Welcome to episode 1242 of Toronto Mic'd. Proudly brought to you by Great Lakes Brewery, a fiercely independent craft brewery who believes in supporting communities, good times, and brewing amazing beer. Order online for free local home delivery in the GTA. Palma Pasta. Enjoy the taste of fresh, homemade Italian pasta and entrees from Palma Pasta in Mississauga and Oakville. Season 4 of Yes, We Are Open, the award-winning podcast from Moneris, hosted by FOTM Al Grego. RecycleMyElectronics.ca. Committing to our planet's future means properly recycling our electronics of the past. The Moment Lab, brand marketing and strategy, PR, advertising, and production. You need The Moment Lab. And Ridley Funeral Home, pillars of the community since 1921. Today, making his Toronto Mike debut, is Frank Corrado. Welcome, Frank.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And you didn't hit your head. I want the record to show that you did not hit your head on the low ceiling in the TMDS studio here.
You gave me fair warning. There was a few, hey, watch
close,
your head.
right?
Watch your head again.
What is your official? I don't want the height that's put on the hockey card, okay, Frank? What is your true height?
6'1".
So and what went on the hockey card?
I believe 6'1". And now I want to say I'm probably like a sliver under 6'1", but I definitely...
Oh, you're shrinking.
No, even when I played like that, I would just find an extra couple centimeters. Not even inches. Like that.
Okay.
That's how much we're talking.
Well, where this comes from is we're going back to 2002. It was actually right after the Team Canada won the gold medal at Salt Lake City. And I remember because Pat Quinn had a team meeting. Pat Quinn was the coach of the Team Canada, and he was a coach of the Leafs at the time. And anyway, long story short is I ended up having like a conversation with Ty Domi of all people. So I'm face to face with Ty Domi, and I had my uncle snap some pictures. And I still remember, like, looking down. I remember thinking, oh, I'm taller than Ty Domi. But I had his hockey card, and he was listed, I think, 5'10", I want to say.
Right.
But I'm actually not 5'10". And I'm looking down at this man, and I'm like, oh, they really fudge these stats. But you're telling me you're a true... I would believe you're 6'1".
I'm a true 6'1", but I think one of my years playing in Sudbury, I stuck a 2.5-pound weight in my shorts for the weigh-in because I had a hard time keeping on weight when I was younger. I was 16.
Right.
I think I went into the league at 174, and that might have been a stretch. And then the next year I was like, I gotta be 185, and I was not 185, and I found a way to get a weight in my short pocket.
I knew there was some shenanigans going on with these measurements. Okay, so Frank, in fact, here, since I said the word measurement, I never know what a guest wants to measure. I don't ask any questions, but if you need to measure anything, I'm giving you right now, Frank, a measuring tape from Ridley Funeral Home, courtesy of Ridley Funeral Home. So
thank you.
Keep that handy. You need to measure something and see if you've grown or you're shrinking.
I got stuff to do around the house. I got to frame some pictures, hang them up. This will come in handy.
You'll probably want to frame the picture that we take after this episode. You'll be in front of the tree and you'll be like, I, Frank Corrado, have finally made it. I'm on Toronto Mike.
Well, it's funny. Like I get from time to time, I'll get people reaching out on various platforms, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. Hey, can you do my podcast? And some people have these really nice long messages about people that have been on the podcast, and I'm like, yeah, of course,
guests include.
Yeah, like of course, I'd love to do your podcast, no problem. You clearly put a lot of thought and effort into this message, and then I'll get the one. It's like very generic, and hey, can you do this podcast? We talk about hockey. And like, I got to be honest, I'll flush those ones.
Right.
There's not a lot of thought that goes into it, but when I saw yours, I'm like, I've seen this guy.
Like I'm the real deal, right? Like I'm not going to make you look behind you, but there's like a cover of the Toronto Star. I don't know, Frank, in your illustrious hockey career, did you ever make the cover of the Toronto Star?
I don't think so. No, maybe for like the wrong reasons of the sports section, like local kid gets put on waivers again.
Also, right. Well, we're gonna get into that because we gotta build you up as an NHL superstar, and then we gotta break you down and make you what you truly have become, a great hockey analyst on sports media. Like, this is going to be quite the episode. But I want to just like let you know that a little pet peeve I have. You kind of brought up these other podcasts that are reaching out to everybody because I'm the OG. I've been doing this 11 years. But what's kind of irking me, and tell me I'm being petty. I think I'm being petty. Okay, so I'm looking forward to you affirming that. I'm being petty here. You know, it's one thing to say, hey, you know, you could be, you know, click this link and we'll chat for half an hour or whatever. Like you can be in your you can be in your basement or whatever. You just go on your laptop, you click a link, you have a chat with somebody. You're never in the same room as them. Like to me, this barrier of entry has made it where it's kind of diluted everything. It's like, yeah, I had Frank Corrado on my show. He probably doesn't remember it because he was zooming in for half an hour on like a Thursday night or something like that. Whereas what and because you're in the GTA, that's why. But
yeah.
I'm like, no, Frank. You have to make the drive, okay? You got to make the drive to South Etobicoke. You're going to have to sit in my basement. Yeah, you'll get some measuring tape, and I got more gifts for you later. But you're going to be, like, you can literally reach out and, you know, punch me in the nose if you want. Like, we're going to be in the same space for well over an hour. Like, to me, that's what it's all about.
I like it. I even when we do shows in studio at TSN, it's fun. You can kind of read off people. And, yeah, I understand there's times
where... The energy's different, right?
The energy's different. You can chime in a little better. Sometimes there's a little bit of a delay when you're online. I get like the circumstances that call for doing something remote and you know, sometimes schedules are busy, all that kind of stuff, but there's really nothing that can replace like this. Like we're in person and I'm very much looking forward to the picture because that's like, I know the picture. I've seen it a million times online.
Right. And it's going to haunt you. Shout out to Ridley Funeral Home. It's going to haunt you to your death. Like when people search Frank Corrado, they're going to see that photo. So I don't know if you've rehearsed your pose. Are you going to do a smile?
I will smile. Yeah. I think that's par for my brand right now. Like I'm smiling. I don't know. Like
happy guy.
Yeah. If you know, we're 10, 15 years in, maybe the smile becomes less and less, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. As the pigmentation disappears from the hair.
I think we'll see how many grays along the way. Although like playing hockey, I think is more stressful than this.
Well, you're a very young man. I just want to let the listenership know that sometimes you get these retired NHLers and they like, you know, they're grizzled old vets or whatever. But can I guess? Are you probably barely 30 here?
I'm 30. Yeah, I just turned 30 in March.
Okay, see, what a great guess.
Yeah.
Wow, you would have thought I did my homework there. Okay, so you're only 30. How long have you been retired? I don't know if that's the right term or not. You'll tell me. But how long have you been, how distant are you from your NHL career?
So my last NHL game was in 2018, but I stopped playing hockey after last season. And it's weird. I haven't really done this like big announcement that I've retired. Like,
you want to make it here?
I don't know. not like officially, but some people do like the big notes, long paragraph, and they post it on Twitter and they thank everyone. And there's a lot of people to thank for sure because you don't get to that level without a lot of people helping you and supporting you along the way. And then I was thinking about it the one day. I'm like, I don't know if like a notes, and my career wasn't illustrious by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't know if like a notes tweet like puts it into perspective just how much support you get. So I haven't really announced it, but I'm clearly not playing hockey anymore and I'm working in broadcast. So my last hockey game would have been in September of 2021 in the KHL.
Wow.
And that last game would have been in Moscow, Russia. And
what's that league like? I mean, I'm just curious. Like you can compare it to the NHL because you played in Vancouver, you played here. We'll talk about all that in a moment. But what's the KHL like?
It's different hockey for sure. It's very defensive hockey. Like I found that you have a little more time in the puck. They don't really put a lot of pursuit on the puck per se, whereas the NHL it's a little more aggressive that way. They're very conservative as far as how they play the game, which I actually didn't mind because I'm stepping on the ice and I wasn't I was injured at the time and I'm playing through an injury and I'm like, oh, this is nice. I have a little more time with the puck. Like there's not someone coming to put me through the end boards. I can get by a little bit here.
Right.
The issue you run into there is the amount of like off ice workouts and bag skates where they just make you skate laps around the ice and do stops and starts.
Interesting.
Like they really put you through the ringer in that regard over there, and that's what makes it difficult. But as far as the games go, it's actually like I don't want to disparage the league, but it's actually quite an easy league, and that's rich for me to say because I only played 7 games there plus like 2 months of preseason hockey. But I feel like it's one of those leagues where if you're healthy and you're feeling good, I mean, you could carve out a nice long career there. It's just, it doesn't really put the hard miles on your body.
Look, Frank, that's not disparaging at all. You're basically saying I might have a shot to play in the KHL. Is that what I'm hearing here? I should lace up my skates, give it a go. It's not too late for me.
There's skill. Like it's a skilled league. It's a big power play league. You can see like a lot of those players come to life when they get a power play, because a lot of the 5-on-5 is just kind of like sitting tight, waiting, packing it in near your net, and then waiting for an opportunity. And then power play comes alive. You're like, wow, I haven't noticed that guy tonight, but then he got 3 points, and then he's one of the highest paid players in the league. He's getting a ton of points.
So wait, am I right in that you just said you played only 7 games in the KHL? Is that
That's
what I heard?
right, yeah.
So you're shitting on this league after 7 games, and you know what's going to happen? Like you're effing with Russia here. I'm going to get denial of service attacks on my server. I mean, I'm just I got to brace myself. Get ready, Ian. We got an incoming here. We pissed off the Russians.
Well, I was in Riga, Latvia, so we were based out of there, and
that's like Russia Junior.
Yeah.
No, Latvia. No, Belarus is Russia Junior.
They're a little more like I think they have a little more of an Eastern European feel there, and really nice people. Like my teammates there, we had a ton of basically the whole Latvian national team played on our team in Riga, and they were just the nicest guys, and really fun to be around for sure. And like we had a Russian coach, Russian GM. We were flying in and out of Russia, so there was definitely that influence there. But even living in Riga, there's menus at restaurants in Latvian, Russian, and English, and just take your pick. And everyone speaks English really well, so there is it's quite North Americanized there.
But you're back here now, and so do you think you're back here for good? Do you think this next chapter of Frank Corrado's life? And again, usually I start at the beginning and move up, but we're going to start here. Like, do you think that this is your future? You are going to be in sports media?
I would like to, yeah. I mean, it's obviously a landscape that's changing all the time, but I think the mindset that I have right now with this is I would like to be good at it for a long time. Like I look at it this way. My hockey career ended what I think is prematurely based on, injuries and tough luck, whatever you want to call it. Of course, I would like to still be playing, and I'm not, and I'm 30 years old. If you asked me a few years ago, I said I would love to play hockey till I'm 35. So for me, there's 5 years there that I'm not playing that I would like to be playing. With that being said, getting thrust into this role with TSN and been given this opportunity has been unbelievable. Like I could not have asked for anything better. I love talking hockey. Like one of my favorite things to do when I was playing was going for lunch with the guys after practice, talk about what's happening in the NHL, what's happening. Like I was in Europe, so talking about Swedish hockey, Russian hockey, other guys that we know that are playing in other leagues. Did you hear this? Did you hear that? So I'm talking hockey anyways. Now I just have a microphone and more people are listening to it. So I would like for this to be something that lasts a long time and I'm good at, and it's sustainable rather than get everything thrown at you right away and then fizzle out and burn out and be like, "Ooh, I tried that. Yeah, that wasn't for me." Like there's just needs to be this sustainability to it that I would like.
Well, we're only 13 minutes into this episode, and I can tell you right now, you can do this, Frank. Okay,
we can do it.
And I got some nice notes. So, firstly, the impetus, like what caused me to send, was it a DM? I think I sent you like a Twitter DM. I can't remember, actually. Maybe it was an email.
Yeah.
I don't know how I got a hold of you.
LinkedIn or
LinkedIn.
Twitter.
It was actually LinkedIn. Okay,
LinkedIn.
That's right. That's right. I sent out the request. I said, if Frank accepts my LinkedIn Connect request, I'm going to invite him over for an episode of Toronto Mike. And that's because I was with a client. Okay, so I'm recording a client. We'll call him Cooksey. His son's a hell of a hockey player, by the way. One day you'll be analyzing Cole Cooksey's play. But Cooksey is talking to me about you, and he's like, he's really good. And we're talking about how, you're so young, you're no longer playing professional hockey. But what did Cooksey write? He goes, it would be interesting to hear his journey to radio. He said, like what is that journey like where you're an NHL guy and then your next thing you know you're on TSN radio? So I said to Cooksey, I said, I am sold. Like I want Frank Corrado on Toronto Mike. Like that was it. And then I reached out and you said you'd be happy to do it. The rest is history. Because Jeff O'Neill said no. I just want you to know. And he lives like 5 minutes away from here.
Oh,
I think he could walk here. But he gave me a polite no thank you deal.
Okay.
So just so you know.
Yeah.
But most people say yes, and they always have a good time. In fact, a lot of people come over just because they know they're going to leave with fresh craft beer from Great Lakes Brewery. And you, Mr. Corrado, I believe that is an Irish last name. Am I correct,
Yes,
Corrado?
very Irish. Yeah, we go way back in Ireland. Yeah.
Well, of course, you're of is your mother also of Italian descent?
Yeah, everyone's Italian. My dad was born in Italy. My mom was born here, but everyone's Italian. My wife's Italian. It's not by design. It just happened to be that way.
You don't choose that stuff.
Yeah.
It happens to you.
It just happened.
But your way around a good plate of pasta, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
do you say pasta or pasta?
I
Frank?
say pasta.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I get a few people are like, hey, it's pasta. I'm like, I say pasta. And, if you're good with it, I'm good with it. Pasta. Like, do you have a nona who can bake a lasagna?
Very grateful. Yeah, like both. So all my grandparents that were around when I was born are still around. I have one grandfather who passed away before I was born. So everyone's still around. Everyone's kicking. Very lucky to have eaten a lot of great food over the years. Sunday get-togethers or all the holidays.
Best food in the world comes from Italy. And I'm saying I'm not Italian descent, but in my opinion, the best food in the world comes from Italy.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to argue that, but yeah, like the menu, the extensive menu that we've been able to eat over the years, and all the different kinds of pastas. The homemade stuff is what really gets me as far as pasta. Like my nonna will sit there and make every noodle by hand, and then she makes the sauce, and it's like that's the good stuff right there. That you can't you can go to all these nice restaurants downtown, and it's all great, and then you go there, you're like, there's just nothing that beats this.
Well, here, this is what I'm going to pitch to you. Okay, so just recently, last week, Rick Campanelli was here. He was also known as Rick the Temp on Much Music, but he is also of Italian descent, and he talked about his nonna and the lasagna that his nonna would make. And he also said the best lasagna he's ever had that didn't come from his nonna, in fact, he said it really is neck and neck with his nonna. I don't think she's able to listen anymore, is from Palma Pasta. Okay, the Petrucci family, they have locations in Mississauga and Oakville. So I'm sending you home, Frank, with a large meat lasagna from Palma Pasta.
Thank you.
And you got to report back and tell me what
I
you
will.
think.
Actually, so funny enough, we're talking about lasagna. I've been to Italy. I've grown up in an Italian family. The best lasagna that I had was in Sweden. Of all places. I'm not even joking.
That's nuts.
Yeah, we went to this restaurant once where I was playing in Sweden, up in northern Sweden, and they put bechamel sauce in the lasagna, and I didn't even really know what it was, and I had it. I'm like, this is the best lasagna I've ever had, and now I almost need the bechamel sauce with it.
That's if you had made me guess, what country do you think I had the greatest Italian food in? I don't think Sweden would be in my top
just
50.
The lasagna. Just the lasagna.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so where to begin? I'm going to begin with this. It's a piece of audio for you, Frank, so listen closely and we'll talk about your humble beginnings here.
You think of Peter Holland and what he went through. And
actually, we're not going to start here. I'm changing it up on the fly. I hope you didn't hear that. That's going to be a top secret.
I think I remember that.
Okay,
I've heard
that's
that before.
coming later, everybody.
Right,
I have messed. This is my first rodeo here, but this is what I meant to play.
As the Canucks send the puck out. Zaleski picks it up with the Calgary blue line. Leaves for Jensen. Wrist shot stopped. Rebound cleared to the side. Waiting is Corrado. He lets a shot go. Scores! Ryan Stanton grabs the puck. First career goal for Frank Corrado, and the Canucks lead 3-0.
All those Twitter people who say you jinx everything, you reverse jinx Frank Corrado.
There you go.
What a shot. Screenshot. We can hear it click the post. Zaleski gained the line. Shot. Rebound. Goes back to Corrado. And you can see Billings is doing the damage in front of Kerry Ramo. Ramo makes the first save and then can't see this long wrist shot by Corrado. It's off the post and in.
All right, Frank, let's. There's a lot of what happened before then, but do you remember that goal?
Very much. First of all, I'm very grateful that it was John Shorthouse and John Garrett on the call there. That's a legendary duo, and obviously Cheech is done after this year. And they call such a great game. So
and
they're
calling the Boston Florida series right now, right?
Yeah,
I'm hearing lots of good things about them.
They're the best. They're so good. Anyways, that's really cool. Yeah. So what Cheech is talking about there about the reverse jinx, that was the last game of the season. And I had played, I believe, 17 or 18 NHL games at that point, and I wasn't going to have another opportunity until the following year. That is, if I make the team and I get in some games.
Right.
And I finally scored, and I think the thing was I had hit a few posts already, in the games leading up to that, and It was like, is this guy going to score? It's the last game of the year, and then oh, you're jinxing it, and then as John Garrett says, you can't reverse jinx him. So it was cool. It was nice to finally get that goal, especially after hitting a few posts.
And maybe I mean, obviously this won't be the deepest of dives into the Frank Corrado NHL career, but maybe a little bit about, like when did you realize you might have a shot at, I'm always curious in somebody's life, like when you realize, hey, maybe I can do this for a living, because that's got to be, that's like how many of us dreamt about scoring a goal in the NHL, and then how many of us actually did it?
Yeah, earlier than you think. I was 15 years old. I was playing under 16 hockey, which used to be called minor midget for the Vaughan Kings, and started the season out, and it's our OHL draft year, and I wasn't really expecting much. Like, I wasn't a great player before that. I thought I was just fine, just an average guy, and something happened over that summer where I kind of shot up a few inches, put on some weight, like I was in the gym. Right. And I went back that season and I started like skating with the puck throughout the game. And I'm like, wow, I'm pretty fast now. Like I'm
good now.
I'm like kind of like I'm carrying the puck end to end. Like, this is fun. Like, hockey's actually fun now when you're actually good at it. And it was around November in that season we went to this tournament, the Silver Stick tournament, which is one of the bigger ones. And I had a 2-goal game. I had another goal the next game. And I'm like, man, this is quite the. This is turning into something. And the next thing you know, I got agents calling the house. And I think as soon as that moment happened, like my agent, Joe Resnick, who I was with basically from 15 years of age all the way up until I retired, and we still talk, fairly frequently. He came over and he kind of said, okay, like, this is how it works. Like, there's the OHL draft. Hopefully you play 2 years in the OHL, you get drafted to the NHL, and then here's the roadmap, here's the plan, here's how we're going to execute it. Hopefully, ultimately, it comes down to your play. And so I'm 15 years old and I'm thinking, this guy's talking about NHL draft in 3 years.
Right.
Like, that's what kind of hit home for me as far as, okay, this can be something. And even going to the OHL as a 16-year-old, it wasn't sunshine and rainbows right away. Like, I think I had a lot of games in the first half of my first year where I'm playing 6-7 minutes a night, and I'm calling my dad after the game, or I'm thinking to myself, like, how am I going to get drafted? I play 6 minutes a night. Who's looking at that thinking we need that? And it's funny how quick things change. It was probably December of my first year, right after Christmas. I remember I brought my equipment home so I could skate and work on some stuff. Like, I think I called Daryl Belfry and went out to St. Catharines and skated with him. Daryl Belfry's like a world-renowned skills coach in the NHL. Went out there, worked with him for a week, came back in December, and I was like a new player. And we had a player who was my age, who was playing a lot ahead of me. He went to the under-17 tournament. I think another player had an injury, and I'm like, oh man, like, I'm actually playing, and I'm doing the same thing I just did last year in minor midget. I'm skating with the puck, I'm wheeling with it. And then it kind of turned into, okay, next year's draft year, and it's go time, and I can do this. And ended up getting drafted. But yeah, it was really early on. It was, imagine that, 15 years old, and you think, okay, it's not necessarily a dream anymore. It's something I can actually do.
Like, there was a roadmap presented to you, and you're like, I can follow that road.
Yes. Yeah.
I can do this. So just the detail is that you were drafted in the 5th round, 150th overall. This is the 2011 NHL entry draft. If you ask me, 2011 was only a couple of years ago, Frank. That's how my brain works. And then you make your NHL debut for the Canucks in the 2012-2013 season. They kept you for the opening round, right, against the Sharks.
Yes.
So that, this is the detail I always find interesting. That eats the first year of your entry level contract.
Yes.
So that's kind of exciting for you.
It was yes and no. So it in a way it was great because it eats the first year of your entry level contract. That's only good if you stay in the NHL and it's like, oh, now you're getting paid 1 year earlier. And it may have worked against me, and we can get into it and how it may have worked.
Well, tell me. Yeah, I'd love to know.
So because I would have had 1 more year of being waiver eligible. Okay, so that means I can go up and down from the minors to the NHL, no problem. No one can pick me up. And so the year I get put on waivers by Vancouver, Toronto picks me up.
And that's 2015.
And obviously turned into a bit of a circus, very well documented how things didn't go well.
We're documenting it now, Frank.
Yeah.
Okay, don't assume everybody has read that documentation.
Well, we will be redocumenting it shortly. But yeah, so if I didn't require waivers, I go down to Vancouver, I'm down in the minors, maybe I play way more, really have an identity as a player, and then you go back up to the NHL, you really feel ready. But all that being said, like, that's all hindsight. At the time, all you're thinking is NHL right now, get games, get points, get contract, get wins, all that kind of stuff, right? You don't think about it in the moment, but when you sit here at 30 years old, you're like, wow, if I had a son, let's say that was a 22-year-old defenseman and he was stuck in that situation, I kind of would want him to just go play,
right,
and learn who you are as a player, and
because
just have that
for a
deeply
D-man,
entrenched.
it's important to point out D-men typically take longer to develop.
Oh
right?
man, this is the quote that always gets me now. I hear people say this: defensemen need 200 games in the NHL before you know what they're all about. Like, do we just hand out 200 games to people? Like, there's plenty of defensemen who are pretty good who just didn't quite get 200 games
Right.
for one reason or another. But there's other guys that it's like, oh, it's got to be 200. We don't at 198. We actually don't know what he is as a defenseman. Once he hits 200, we know.
Oh, that's a great point. It's just, we're gonna walk through this, but you never got the Jeff Finger. You never got the Jeff Finger deal here, but we're gonna talk about all this. So in 2015, shout out to Jeff Finger. Okay, in 2015, you're claimed by the Toronto Maple Leafs. So remind us, you grew up around here, right? Whereabouts did you grow up?
Yeah, so we lived in Bolton for a little bit, and then mostly in Vaughan, in Woodbridge.
Okay, well that's the city above Toronto, the city of Vaughan.
Yeah, they
Okay.
don't use that anymore, do they?
But I have had on this program, I believe his name is Larry McInnes. I've had the gentleman who came up with that slogan. He worked at Chum FM, 104.5 Chum FM, and he came out. He's the guy the creative guy behind
it's
the
a
city above
geography
Toronto.
thing, isn't it? Just like
I think it's great.
We literally border Toronto to the north.
You're literally the city above Toronto.
Yes.
And it works on different levels. And when I think, because when I found out you were in Vaughan, and I'm like, oh, that's a long drive. I wonder if Frank will do it for me. Like, kind of in that voice. I think I even wrote back the city above Toronto, the city of
Yes.
Vaughan. It's the first thought I have when I think of Vaughan.
Yeah, they don't use that anymore.
that's
I don't know
bullshit,
if I don't know if it was like a backhanded slap at the city of Toronto, like, hey, we're above you. It
was, but that was
shouldn't have
good.
been.
I think that, but that's
know.
what are you gonna do, right? You're sleeping next to a giant, right?
Yeah.
Like, what are you gonna do?
We can all work together. We're the GTA.
and a lot of people who work in Toronto, like yourself, they live in Vaughan. Like, this is just the way of the world. Of
That's
course.
my wife had to drive to work today. She works at in Midtown Toronto. So.
Right, right, yeah. So Vaughan is a great place to live, but you'd probably end up working in Toronto because that's where the jobs are.
Yes.
See, I've done the math for you. Okay, so I'm wondering. Of course, you must have grown up a Toronto Maple Leafs fan.
Big time. Yeah.
Because you're 30, Frank, and we're going to talk about this, but because you're 30, I'm doing the math on when those final four appearances with Gary Roberts.
Oh, I would have been
and,
10, 11, 12. Like that's right in my wheelhouse there. Early
Right.
2000s.
Okay.
I had like wearing the jersey at school. Big Matt Sundin fan, big Cujo fan, like playing street hockey, saying, I'm Tucker or I'm McCabe, right? Like I think
Was Yushkevich your favorite defenseman? Who was
Brian McCabe for sure
Oh,
was.
yeah.
Like I used to wear the Mohawk. So we played in
Right.
I played for the Mississauga Reps in minor Adams. So I think you're 9 or 10 years old. And we were a bad team, like really bad. We were in the
Right.
bottom 4 of that league in the GTHL. And what you do is when the playoffs go on for the 1 through 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 play in a little mini tournament called the King Clancy
Right.
to be the best of the worst. And we got to the finals of the best of the worst. And I told my dad, like, okay, I'm going to the game dressed like Brian McCabe. Like I want the mohawk. I want like the gel in my hair. Like I'm going to be Brian McCabe today. And we went and we actually won the game. We won the finals. And I have pictures at home where it's like we got the King Clancy trophy and I still have the mohawk going after the game, the McCabe mohawk.
Well, kids today are doing that with Bo Bichette. There's a whole bunch of kids around that age who are playing baseball, and they're growing their flow, and they're wearing the headband like they're Bo Bichette.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's nice to have, I guess, role models or athletes that you can look up to, and dress like them, think like them, act like them, whatever, but they're positive role models, you know what I mean? And I feel like Bichette is one of those guys, just like a quiet guy, kind of carries himself, it seems like, the right way, and he's such a gamer, right? Like he's such a guy who's easily likable for the way he plays the game.
Right. It's funny watching McCabe out there now. Like, so tonight there's a game. So tonight there's game 4.
Yeah, we have a new
We'll get into
McCabe
this.
in
yeah,
town.
it is, but it's so like retro. It's like there's McCabe. He's back. It's like, okay, he's like a 55-year-old man or whatever. But we're gonna talk about the current day Leafs at some point because, of course, you're at TSN talking about it. We're gonna get you to TSN. But I'm wondering, when you find out you're claimed by the Toronto Maple Leafs on, I guess it was October 6th, 2015 or something, when they claimed you because you got put on waivers on the 5th of October 2015. What's your guttural reaction? Like, your dream come true, right? This is your hometown team.
Yeah, disbelief. Like, could not believe it. And I know they were quite high in that priority as far as picking players. I think they were the 4th highest. Really, really shocked. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. Like, I broke down in tears. Like, that's your childhood dream coming true. And you got to look at it this way. Like, being put on waivers by Vancouver was the worst feeling in the world imaginable. I thought I would be in Vancouver a long time. That was where I drafted. I really came to love the city, the way of life there, everything about that team and being a Canuck. And it didn't work out, obviously. And it's just the worst feeling knowing that you're going to the minors and, you know, you can kind of read the way things work sometimes in some of these meetings. And you can tell when it's like one of those things where, okay, it's just, you know, just go down there, do your thing. You'll be right back up as long as you hold up your end of the bargain. I didn't necessarily get that sense there. I think it was a little more like, it might be better for you somewhere else. So that was a tough feeling knowing that. Like,
But little did they know.
And then I do get picked up by Toronto, and it's like, oh my God, like this is what I've been chasing this NHL dream for so long now, and now I'm going to get an opportunity to do it in Toronto. And one of the things which was crazy to think this at the time.
Yeah.
Obviously, seeing Babcock was the coach there.
Right.
And I remember saying to myself and even talking to my dad, it's like, could you have asked for a better opportunity, a better coach to play for? You, like, all you need to do right now is be a sponge, execute on whatever the guy is teaching you, and you're literally going to be an NHL defenseman. Like, you're going to be an NHL defenseman.
You're going to be Lidstrom.
Not Lidstrom, but like for a long time, you will be an NHL defenseman. That's all you need to do.
Right.
Like, just hold up your end of the bargain and let the rest take care of itself. And little did I know, like, that was not even close.
All right, let's talk about it. I should point out, so I've been holding on to some of these notes I got when I said Frank Corrado was finally making his Toronto Mike debut. A bunch of them are about TSN, so I'm holding on to those till we get you to TSN. But what came in here? Okay, so Leafer 1984. Ask him how he feels about Mike Babcock. Okay, I know I'm being set up here, and I know where this is going. But Mike DiStefano.
That's Al's brother. Do you know who that is?
Tell me who that is.
That's Al's brother on TSN 1050, Mike DiStefano. He's my guy.
I really butchered that. Oh my goodness.
He's my guy. Like, we'll get it. He's actually a big reason why I got going at TSN.
Okay,
so we'll touch on that.
This is going to come
he
back.
He will come
then.
up. Yeah.
Okay.
He will come
so
up.
the note from Michael. See, I can say the name Michael. I can even spell it, okay? But DiStefano, I got to get that right. Okay. Corrado does one hell of a Babcock impression, okay? So let's slow down here. I'm kind of warmed up here now. Should I start recording this, Frank? Okay, I'm all warmed up here. But now we've got you in Toronto. The head coach is Mike Babcock, legendary Red Wings coach. Come on, I'm a lot older than you are. This was pretty exciting when Babcock was coming to town.
Very much. Yes.
Our hope.
You should have seen how excited I was. I was going to play for the guy. I'm like, this is the Olympic coach. This guy's coached Lidstrom. He's coached Rafalski. Like, yeah.
Wow. Okay. I don't know where to begin here. Maybe I'll let you drive this truck, but regardless, there's like 10 weeks or something where you're a healthy scratch. But why don't you tell us what happens when you arrive as a Toronto Maple Leaf?
So I arrive and... obviously, like, when you play hockey, nothing is owed to you. You're not entitled to anything. You're only as good as your performance. You always have to keep that in mind whenever you talk about these conversations as far as lack of ice time, lack of games played. You're never owed anything. With that being said, I was 22 years old, and I hadn't played a ton of hockey over the last few years, whether I had been called up to Vancouver and maybe been a healthy scratch there, or there was a point where I tore a muscle in my oblique, so I was out for a little bit with that. It's like, it's an age where you need to be playing a lot and find your identity as a player. It's different than a 27 or 28-year-old player who's played in the minors and grinded his way up to the NHL, and now you've arrived, you've been there for a couple years. It's like, your game is your game, whether you play 56 games a year or 75 games a year. There's not much variance there. For a 22-year-old kid, it was tough mentally to handle that because you see your teammates out there every single night, and you walk into the room every single day and you see you're not playing. And it does something to you because all you want to do is you're chasing it. I was chasing this dream of the NHL and being an NHL defenseman, like we talked about for a long time. And now you're still trying to chase it, but you're not in a position to kind of grasp at it and achieve it and attain it. So it really starts to weigh on you and screw with you mentally. And even got to the point where it's like you're watching a game up in the press box, and you almost like have to look away. Like you can't even watch it anymore because you don't like what it's doing to you internally, because obviously you want your team to win. You care about all your teammates on the ice, and a little bit of you inside is just like so jealous and so envious that like, why am I not getting that opportunity?
Right.
And then you look at your, other players, maybe guys that you have played against in the OHL or guys I had played against in the minors, whatever the case may be. And I'm like, well, that guy's playing over there. I'm better. Like, I think I'm better than that guy. Right. And if I was there, I would be playing 17 minutes a night and I'd be playing every night. And it's like all these things mixed in with the fact that you're also playing for your hometown team. You think you're playing for your hometown team. It's like, that's a lot for a 22-year-old kid to kind of digest. And, people talk about like maybe blocking it out. Like there's no blocking that out. That weighs on you every single day. And we always need to say too, like you play in the NHL, it's a very privileged place to be. There's a lot of perks. There's a lot of positives that go with that. So I was definitely able to enjoy that along the way. But as far as, like not playing, it definitely had a mental toll to it.
Yeah, I mean, that's 10 weeks of I think about 10 weeks of being a healthy scratch. What was the reasoning there? Like, who spoke to you and told you why you're not playing for 10 weeks, even though you're raring to go? And again, as you've established, like you need to play, and you're 22-year-old defenseman. Like you need to get some reps in and play.
Yeah, it was just one of those things where it's like, yeah, we got a plan for you. Keep sharp in practice, and we'll get some injuries. It was a lot of stuff like that. It was worse the next year because at that in the 15-16 year, the year that we basically bottomed out. After the All-Star break, after the trade deadline, basically it was a mass exodus of our dressing room and our roster. So I was able to play at that point, but it was really the next year where it kind of got to me the most, because that was, I had played 2 games basically up until February or late January that year.
So in July 2016, so following that season, you sign I guess it's like a $600,000 one-year deal.
Yeah, one-way deal. That was another one. You check off a checklist as far as everything was a 2-way deal before, entry level. It's like this is a one-way deal. You're getting paid the same no matter what. You're in the NHL or AHL, so you got a little security there.
But you're still a healthy scratch.
Yes.
Did you take this at what point do you start taking this personally? Like who doesn't like Frank?
I don't care who doesn't like me, right? That was one of the quotes that kind of got taken out of context, right? I said something along, well, if the coach doesn't like you, you don't play. And I think it was more about I said it. It was more about my play on the ice, or whatever you want to call it, practice games, even though there was no games being played. But going back to that contract, I signed that contract, and one of the messages I got was from the team was, okay, there's a one year, one-way deal. Do not assume that you're on the team because you're signing this contract. You're going to have to make the team at a training camp. Like, that'll be up to you. And so I took that to heart. Like, the Michael Jordan meme there where he goes like, I took that personally.
Right.
And he's sitting in the chair.
Right.
So I took that personally. So I had a great summer. 6'1". I came back that summer like 205 pounds, and I was feeling good. Anyways, going to training camp,
right? I
have a goal in the first preseason game against Ottawa. I have a 3-assist game against the Buffalo Sabres in one of the next games. Overall, very good training camp. I could honestly sit there and say I left it all out there, and that was awesome. And so I break training camp with the team. There was never really a conversation had as far as, hey, you're on the team. It was just, all right, I just keep showing up until they tell me not to. And then that was one of my things. I was like, okay, I put myself in a position now where I should be able to get in the lineup at some point because I had a good training camp. And I got one game in early November in Pittsburgh, and it was also a very good game, I thought, for my standards. And I'm very hard on myself and quite critical of myself at times, and maybe that's kind of worked against me throughout my career. And then it was like, that was it. No more games until end of January.
Okay, let's play that clip. I almost played out of order here, so let's listen to this.
You think of Peter Holland and what he went through and not being with the team, and Frankie Corrado and the trickle-down effect here.
Well, it's interesting. They share the same agent, Joe Resnick, and Peter Holland out of Toronto got traded, and Frankie Corrado's been waiting to play. He's played one game this year, and he's really been on the bench for close to 2 years, ever since he was picked up on waivers from the Vancouver Canucks. And I don't have a problem with them not playing him. This is a merit-based job. If your coach thinks you're a player, you're a player. If not, you're not. What I don't like is how much he's been on the bench. And today, Corrado's been really good about not talking. And today he spoke to a reporter, David Alter of The Athletic, and there you see it. And I think the last couple lines, the coach is the one who makes the lineup, and if the coach doesn't like you, then you're not going to play. I think I see Nick Corrado seeing Holland getting out, and he's saying, I want to get out, and this is how I'm going to force my way. I think he's tried to be polite. He's tried to be reasonable. But I do agree. I think his career is really getting
You
hurt.
could certainly sense the frustration in his quotes.
Do you think he's saying he doesn't like Frankie Corrado or doesn't like Frankie Corrado's entire game? Because it seems to hint at a personality conflict there.
No, it
Darren,
doesn't.
it ultimately matters on how you play in on the ice. And if they're not comfortable to put him in the lineup, then that's what you're judged on. But my biggest beef in all of this is, okay, you don't want to put him on waivers, that's fine. But there is a 2-week window to get him playing on the ice. He should have been with the Marlies by now. And why hasn't he? On a conditioning stint. Give him 2 weeks to go down. That hasn't been the case. They don't want to do that. There is some sense that they would do that in the new year, but it should have happened by now.
It's his career here.
I agree. I don't think it's anything personal. I don't, Mike Babcock's had battles with players before. Like I said, I think it's purely he doesn't believe he's one of his 6 best defensemen, which is fine. But I have not liked this. I just think it's a young player with a career ahead of him. There's got to be a better way, or at least just put him on waivers and see if anyone claims
23 years old. So this isn't a guy that's just toiling around and collecting a paycheck. Hey, he's got desires to take it beyond just what he's doing in the National Hockey League.
All right, Frank, here we are. I know we're rehashing some old stuff here, right? But I heard you making commentary during that clip. Please respond to those. I mean, I also just, Kyprios, Friedman, Alter was referenced there at the Athletic. All three, he's no longer
all
there,
great guys.
And all FOTMs. I just want you to know, Frank, you're now an FOTM, a friend of Toronto Mike.
Nice.
Welcome to that.
I really like
exclusive
those
club.
guys all the way. All those guys are awesome. Okay, so it obviously had nothing to do with personality. I couldn't care less if the coach liked me as a person, although I think like a pretty likable guy.
So far, so good, Frank.
Yeah. So I was obviously talking about my play on the ice. You know what? And I heard Elliot there talking about how maybe I saw it as my opportunity to get out of Toronto. It was never about. It's a good point. It was never about getting out of Toronto. I think it just came down to the fact that what else can they do? I'm already not playing. Like, I've already been not playing for such a long time. It's like there's nothing left to lose, really. And if I did get moved somewhere else, it probably would have benefited me, which, for a short amount of time it did. That's kind of what it came down to, man. There was nothing left to lose. And it's funny, like, so I would do these conditioning skates when I wasn't playing, and DJ Smith would run them. And I really enjoyed playing for DJ Smith as the D coach and some of his banter. And he would make me do what's called a mountain. So a mountain is you start on the goal line, you go blue line back, red line back, blue line back, all the way down and back. And so the first one, he would say, first one's got to be under, I think it was 47 or 48 seconds, okay? And then he goes, second one's got to be under 52 seconds, all right? And there was 90 seconds rest in between, or 2 minutes rest in between. And we were doing this basically every game day. He would be nice about it and give me the odd game day off, because it is quite a miserable thing to have to do every time. And there was one time where he looks at me and goes, all right, 48 on the first one, 52 on the second one. And then I go, or what? Like, or what? You're not going to play me again? You're not going to play me?
Right.
Yeah, like,
right.
What are we doing here? And to his, like, he had a good chuckle about it, and he understood, but I think it was just one of those days where the frustration comes through. You also have to think about it this way. When you're 22 and you're trying to make your way in the league, I'm obviously not a first-round pick. I'm not, like, a loud, boisterous guy. I'm not trying to ruffle feathers. And as much as, things maybe didn't work out for myself in Vancouver, when you get a second opportunity, all you're thinking is, do not mess this up, because you don't know how many opportunities are going to come around. And so what I mean by that is you don't need to be the loudest person in the room. You don't need to ruffle feathers. You don't need to rock the boat.
Right.
Really, what you want to do as a player is let your play do the talking. And that was the frustrating part. You
Yeah, 'cause
never
you're
really
not
got an
playing.
opportunity to do that.
And I mean, there was literally a free Corrado social media campaign, right?
Yeah.
Free Corrado.
Yeah, there was, you know what? It was really weird going on Twitter after a Leaf game, and we would lose a game, I don't know, 4-2, 5-2, and then it's like, there's my name being
Nice.
like free Corrado. I'm like, I've never seen an 8th defenseman get so much attention after a Leafs loss, a guy who has nothing to do with
Because
the
I
outcome
think
of the game.
fans could see that there was for some reason, Babcock wasn't interested in playing Frank Corrado. Like, and you're so young and you're a defenseman. Like, how do we know what you are if we don't give you some playing time?
Right. Yeah, I agree. And I had played NHL games at that point. I think that was part of the frustrating thing for me is you mentioned my NHL debut was in 2012, 2013 as a 20-year-old. Wow. Played in the NHL playoffs. And that was with Alain Vigneault and Rick Bowness and Newell Brown, like awesome coaching staff.
Right.
And then things changed in Vancouver because that I guess group had, if you want to say, run its course a little bit, and then Torts came in, and that was a whole new coaching staff. So as a young guy, you have to reestablish yourself, and there's a lot of guys ahead of you, and there's a lot more, insurance players that a new coach is thinking, okay, I'm not necessarily ready to go with a young kid as my everyday regular guy.
Right.
And then the Torts staff got liquidated, and then the Willie Desjardins staff comes in. So that's 3 staffs in Vancouver in 3 years, and you're 20, 21, 22,
right,
and you're trying to establish yourself. Good luck, because every coach, you know what they're thinking? I got to keep this job. And there's development is in the NHL is not a development league. It is a winning league, but the best coaches in the NHL find ways to bring their young talent from, maybe NHLers to big time NHLers.
Well, in the corporate world, an expression I would often hear, would be nobody ever got fired for buying IBM. Like, it's like there's no incentive to, risk losses because you played a young defenseman that you're kind of working in. Like, you're kind of incented to play the proven horses because you need to win in these situations that you're describing.
I was always good enough in the American Hockey League to get myself to the NHL. Like, I always knew if I went down to the AHL at that age and early on in my career, I was like, okay, I know I can do this and that, and I'll get back to the NHL. Where I struggled, the big roadblock was obviously staying in the NHL, like asserting myself enough in the NHL that it was like, no, we need this guy now. We can't send him down.
So when this is going on, this friction, if you will, we heard a lot of that with the Elliot Friedman, Nick Kiprio's clip there. Babcock situation. What's happening with Lou Lamoriello? So at this point, the GM is Lou Lamoriello.
Yeah.
What's the word from Lou? Do we have word from Lou on this situation?
Yeah, I mean, with Lou, he was mostly upfront and honest with me, and he would sit down and have a conversation, which I was happy about. There was one time during that second year where I texted Lou. I don't know. I was just having an off day. It wasn't feeling great about things. I said, Lou, can we talk at some point today? He goes, yeah, get to the game at 6:30. Come on up to my office. We'll have a chat. So basically we went to have a chat. He goes, listen, I understand you're frustrated. It hasn't worked out. It hasn't gone well. He goes, do your best to stay patient with it. If at some point down the road here, we know we're kind of done with the situation, I'll try and find somewhere else for you to play, and we'll move on from it. I was like, okay, thank you. That gives me a little something to hold on to.
Yeah, you get something there.
And on my way out of his office, looks at me and he goes, oh, and by the way, thanks for not trashing my office. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, I've had this meeting before, and I've had guys kind of like get a little riled up. Said Lou, like, you obviously don't know me well enough if you think I'm gonna trash your office.
Thank you for not trashing my studio, Frank.
Yeah,
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
So January 19th, right? This is the final game, I guess. So Morgan Riley, the hero from Saturday night, Morgan Riley. My daughter loves it when Morgan Riley, like, she doesn't really watch. She's only 7, but she doesn't really watch. But I always give her the updates on how Morgan Riley having a very good playoff season so far. As you know.
He's playing unbelievable.
Yeah. So I'll always be like, because she knows that she has the same name as this defenseman, number 44, Morgan Riley. And I'll be like, so the next morning I'll be like, oh, Morgan Riley I can't remember, I had 4 assists last night or something like that. And then yesterday morning I'm like, oh, you won't believe who scored in overtime for the Leafs to win, Morgan. It was Morgan Riley. And she's very proud of herself. Like, she somehow
Nice.
So it's always fun when Morgan Riley has a good game. But Morgan Riley was injured, and you got a game in on December 19th. And what happens after this? What happened in that game, and what happens following that game?
It didn't. So I played with Connor Carrick early in the game, who's an awesome guy, and we actually still keep in touch to this day. So we get scored on early in the game, and I'm like, oh man, here we go. And then the rest of the game, like I found my footing. It started to go a little bit better. Then I took one penalty. I'm like, oh man, that's the last thing I need. Then it's a neutral zone face-off. Puck gets one back to me. I'm going to make a pass to my D partner, and at the wrong time, the puck hops right over my stick. And I think it was Michael Grabner, who's playing for the Rangers at the time. He grabs it, and he's going in on a breakaway, so I hook him. So now I'm -1. I've taken 2 penalties, and I haven't played a game in 4 months.
Right.
And I feel like I'm sitting on the bench, and I can feel like my throat like closing up. It feels like the walls of my NHL career are closing in on me. And I'm like, this could not have been any worse, because Babcock didn't do me any favors that morning with his pregame media availability. He basically in the morning said, a lot of people want opportunities in the NHL. So tonight, you're going to get one. And, there you go. There's your opportunity. And I think he was asked something else like that in the media.
We need more of that. You do. Whoever
like
told me, who was it? I want to give the proper credit.
Al's
again.
brother,
Michael.
Yeah,
DiStefano did tell me you did a hell of a Babcock impression, and I would like to agree with Michael.
Yeah, I have plenty of practice with it. Trust me. Yeah. Yeah, so it was like, I wanted opportunity for a long time, so we'll get that tonight, and it'll be up to him. Like, a guy, 4 months without playing hockey and then playing an NHL game is
and
not
I'm feeling
exactly
for you.
an
Like,
opportunity.
even though this is years ago and you've moved on and you're doing well in your new career, if you will, like, I feel for you, because that's not how you're supposed to be judged in a sport, like, where it's like, you're not supposed to go shift by shift. Like you need a longer sample size to kind of let things run.
That's a great point, actually. You bring up a great point. So I went on a conditioning stint after Elliot, Kipper, and Darren talked there. That clip you
and
played.
Darren Millard, right?
Darren Millard.
He's in Vegas now.
Yeah. So they were talking about I should have been on a conditioning stint earlier on in the season. I got put on a conditioning stint right after the Centennial Classic, so New Year's Day. And I was wondering the timing on that, right? It turns out that was right before the Father's trip for the Leafs that year.
Right.
So we were doing a Father's trip in New York and Boston, I believe. And so Lou tells me after the Centennial Class, he goes, "You're gonna go on a conditioning stint." I'm like, "Okay, it's 2 weeks. You got 7 games down there with the Marlies. Go play, whatever." And then I tell my dad, he goes, "Yeah, it's probably a good idea they sent you on a conditioning stint." I probably would have said something to Babcock on that trip. Like, what do you mean? He goes, "I don't know, man. I would have said something for sure."
Could you imagine your dad? What's your dad's name?
Sal.
Can you? Oh, I would just love to overhear Sal confronting Babcock.
5'8", chest puffed out. I think he would have had something to say.
Oh my God, we missed out on that.
Because I'm pretty sure my dad would have. He would have made a bit of a scene, which I actually don't blame the guy at all. I think I would do the same thing if that was my kid. And my dad's the most easygoing, laid back guy when it comes to hockey. He never if there was ever an issue, like as a kid with a coach or whatever, hey, you want more ice time? Here's the phone.
Yeah.
You call him.
Right.
You're 14 years old. You make the call. Learn how to be an adult. He goes, "I'm not doing this for you." And I'm sure you have a lot of friends that are hockey parents or whatever. And I don't know, maybe hockey coaches. How many parents do you think call these minor hockey coaches on a regular basis?
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, man. And, you had those seasons in the past where, I think it was HBO was documenting everything for.
You could have documented this for sure.
Because Babcock, I remember that one season. I think of the Leafs. I think the Red Wings and Leafs are on the road, but they did that document. Imagine having.
I was there. I was there. That was the year.
That was the year.
Yeah,
okay, see,
year.
it's all a blur now to me,
Yeah.
man. We're gonna get to current day Leaf stuff, but oh man, imagine having that documentary footage of Sal talking to Mike Babcock.
That would have been good. Yeah, that would have been one of those ones where no one's filming it, and the boom guy with the mic isn't necessarily on the ball there, but it's like, oh, switch over, we got some action. You see the boom guy just running into the back of the scene.
Oh my God, amazing. So what happens on? What does Lou Lamoriello do with you? I guess in February 4th, I guess it was.
Oh yeah, so we were in Boston. That was the day I got put on waivers. So we were in Boston. I went to the morning skate. it's funny to see things happen in real time. So we're on the bus. It was an optional skate. I'm on the bus on the way back to the hotel to eat pregame meal or hang out the rest of the day meal. And I'm on Twitter and I see Toronto claims Alexei Marchenko. I'm like, oh, he's a right-handed defenseman. That would mean we have 9 defensemen. And I said, my phone is going to ring in about 3 minutes here. And then like 30 seconds later, I see Lou Lamoriello come up on the screen. He goes, Frankie, we just made a transaction. We picked up a defenseman. When you get back to the hotel, can you come up to my room, please? So I go up there and talk to Lou. He goes, listen, we made a transaction. We picked up Marchenko. He goes, we're going to put you on waivers. Wish you the best of luck. Like, it was a really nice conversation with Lou. Like, basically, sorry things didn't work out here. He said one thing that I thought was really nice, and I don't know if he like meant it or not, but he goes, don't ever change. He goes, stay true to who you are. I don't know what he meant by it, but I don't know if like I'm a pushover or whatever. Like, but anyways, I thought that was really nice, and that was it for me as a Leaf. And that leads me to a conversation I had with Kyle Dubas that I think was one of my favorite conversations I've ever had as a professional hockey player. So when I got down there, he brings me in because he's the GM of the Marlies at the time. He brings me into his office and he goes, listen, you've been down here on 2 conditioning stints, and I'm not going to lie. Every time you're down here on a conditioning stint, it looks like you play not to make a mistake because everyone is watching you. Every shift, there's reports, there's you want to play such a simple kind of game because you don't want to mess up and you want to play the way you think you need to play in the NHL. He goes, I want you to stop doing that here. He goes, I want you to do basically whatever you want to do on the ice. If you want to take the puck for a skate and try and go end to end, do it. He goes, play with the puck, play the game that I liked from a long time ago because he was the GM up in Sault Ste. Marie when I played in Sudbury.
Right.
So we kind of go way back, even though we weren't together. We're very familiar. He goes, I want you to play that game. He goes, play fearless, play like no one's watching. That's the way you need to play down here. You need to kind of just get back to what made you a good player. And I left that conversation and I felt so good about the opportunity that was there. And I actually did quite well with the Marlies after that. Like I can't remember if I played 18, 20 games before I ended up getting traded to Pittsburgh that year, but I was playing a lot. I was having fun. I was skating with the puck. It was like this whole like rejuvenation. And I thought to myself, okay, like as much as I wanted an opportunity elsewhere, maybe in a different organization, I could be pretty okay with just finishing the year here with the Marlies and then seeing what the summer holds because I felt like I was really coming alive as a player. And then I ended up getting traded to Pittsburgh at the trade deadline.
Okay, so now you're no longer a Toronto Maple Leaf. The dream is over. Hey now, don't dream it's over. Okay, then you're and we're gonna. By the way, before we get into TSN, actually, I have a whole he shreds section of this podcast. So here's a teaser because this guy shreds. Okay, give us the Reader's Digest version here. What happens in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, good opportunity for me. Like really good opportunity for me. Stanley Cup winning team in my first year, and I'm down in the minors. Same deal there. Go play, have fun, whatever. Really bad high ankle sprain, like 6 month recovery, horrible. Basically put me out for like whatever Pittsburgh's potential playoff run was going to be. I could have been around, could have been practicing. There may have been a chance to get in the lineup. Sucks that happened. But end up rehabbing my ankle just in time for the next regular season. Get off to a really good start in the American Hockey League. Get called up to Pittsburgh, play some games, go back down to the minors, tear my ACL.
Oh.
And then 9 month recovery. Pittsburgh, obviously, I wasn't going to be ready until November of the following year, so Pittsburgh moved on. I get a call from Kyle Dubas. Hey, we need a defenseman for the Marlies. You're back from your ACL. Do you want to come play for the Marlies? We'll put you on an AHL deal so you don't have to worry about anything as far as Babcock being there or being tied to us as an organization. It's just we need a defenseman. Things went well for you down here, and come on out. And I did, and I wasn't the best version of myself as a player coming off the ACL, and then I actually tore my quadriceps tendon that year in February. That knocked me out for another 9 months, and that was crazy. Like, that's a whole other story in itself, the quadriceps tendon. Like, I did 85 sessions in a hyperbaric chamber or else my quadriceps tendon was not going to like clear the inflammation. Wow. So I did that over the summer, well, among many other kind of like rehab modules.
We'll save that for your sequel, I think.
We'll get
do
back
90
here.
minutes on that.
We'll do an injury podcast part 2.
I'll do that.
Yeah. So it was a rough, I guess, like 4 or 5 years. And then what really happened was from high ankle sprain to ACL to quadriceps tendon to hip to groin. Next thing you know, here we are in your basement.
So you mentioned these great lasagna you had in Sweden, right? So that's with the Moto hockey, I guess you're playing there. So that's like 2020 or whatever. And then again, we're yada 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 in a lot of this, but you mentioned the KHL off the top, and you were playing the 7 games of Riga. And then I guess you is it another injury? What happens?
That was it. That was the last straw for me.
That's it for you.
Yeah, there was too much going on in my hip that I just couldn't stay healthy for a long enough period of time. Like get through a game, but if you have 2-3 games a week plus practices and workouts, all that kind of stuff, like I was barely walking around at one point.
So Frank, straight up, does it haunt you at all? Like, have you been able to just let it go and realize that you are 30, healthy now, and you can go about with a new career because you're very good at this? Or did you ever lie in bed and just think of like how close you were and how maybe a different coach, a different time, a different opportunity, you'd be on this playoff roster right now?
I had that, like not necessarily about the playoff roster, but I had that for
It's
years.
okay. That's the beer. I was gonna say you cracked open a beer. No, you haven't cracked because it's early.
No. Usually I have a cough button. Like I'm a nervous. Like I have a nervous stomach.
But you can't reach it because it's like literally right there.
Yeah.
So
maybe you'll edit that out. Who knows? But just keep it. Actually, it's the
I'll keep it
authenticity.
because this is real Frank Corrado.
Yeah,
man. He belches on Toronto. Do you belch on TSN radio?
I use the cough button.
You have a cough button.
Yeah. You'd be shocked at how many times I have to burp on the air. On
hey,
TSN.
Howard Stern burps on the air, and people seem to like him. So okay, no judgment here.
No, but I had that. Like I had that time in my life where I just sat back and thought, man, what about this? What about that? What if this? What if that? Like, and then you just get to the point you're like, I'm done thinking about this. Like, it's time to kind of move forward. And I think like the opportunity at TSN has really helped that because my brain is now like so invested in what I'm doing now, and I feel like I'm very productive. So I don't look back on it and dwell on it as often as maybe I used to.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I do have a couple more gifts for you, and I did talk about the fact that Frank Corrado shreds, okay, and we're going to have a little evidence of that and talk briefly about that. Then we're going to get you to TSN, and then I'm going to pump your tires a little bit. You need your tires pumped. But who is this on guitar? I'm just going to play something I dug up.
I have a beef with that clip.
Let's hear it.
So the Canucks TV did a feature where they were following some players around for the summer, and they came to see me, and they're like, oh, you play guitar, like, can you play us some stuff? I played, like, Thunderstruck is fine, but, like, I played a number of other things that I would say are, like, higher quality, like, executed for me.
Okay, name check these jams. I want to hear the songs.
I'm pretty sure I played, like, the Crazy Train solo, like, perfectly. And then I think I played like some Zeppelin stuff. And then one of the people on the crew was like, play Thunderstruck. I'm like, okay, I'll play Thunderstruck. And then that's the one they used for the video. I'm like, I don't want to lead with, I like Thunderstruck, but I got other stuff.
I'm glad
I got
you're
better
airing
stuff.
this grievance, right? Because I
got better stuff.
Yeah, I'm glad you did that. So here's another clip there. Maybe this will help redeem me here. Hold on.
I forget that part. If you're in a guitar shop, there's like unwritten rules. You don't echo someone. So if someone's sitting there playing Day Tripper, you can't be the guy next to him and just play Day Tripper, you know? Like Stairway, you can't play. Don't play Crazy Train. Woo! It's been a while. I think it was the lockout year, that 04-05 lockout year. I was just so bored because there was no hockey on TV. Decided to pick up the guitar and kill some time. And that movie School of Rock came out, and that was one of my favorite movies. So I took lessons till I was 4 or 5 years. Till I was 16, I took lessons. This one's probably my favorite guitar that I have. It's an old 1982 Fender Stratocaster. I got it in Chicago. This one is an acoustic 1970s Ibanez. Old. I like old guitars, like kind of classics. That's kind of a rare one you don't see very often. Before junior, I used to play with some people and we'd get together and learn some songs and kind of write our own stuff. And if I wasn't at hockey practice, I was probably at home playing my guitar, or if I wasn't outside playing street hockey with buddies or something, then I was inside. Anytime I was inside, I probably had the guitar in my hand.
So that's from the Leaf Blueprint.
Yeah.
There's a little more Frank Corrado shredding.
Little guitar content. Yeah, I don't play as much as I used to. I would like to play a little bit more, but during the hockey season, I even find it hard to play at times. It felt like it was a summer thing, and it felt like it was one of those things that I did a lot in my adolescent years, my teen years.
You should pick up the axe again and get back to it, man.
I'm finding right now, a lot of the new music that comes out, I have no desire to play. And all the old stuff, the Zeppelin, Ozzy, AC/DC, Van Halen, I've played it all a lot in my life. I don't know if I have any more capacity to learn new songs.
Wow. Listen, you're not trying hard enough, Frank. That's what I would say. But
yeah, you're right.
There's so much great music out there. And yeah, maybe you don't like some current stuff, but even if you go back, there's such a wealth of guitar content out there for you, Frank. So here's what I'll pitch to you, okay? Because, we talked about doing 90 minutes on your injuries, but sincerely, at some point, maybe in the summer, you come back, we kick out the jams, because I'm now very curious, what are your 10 favorite songs of all time?
Oh, I'll need to think about that for sure.
You got some time here because we got to finish the maybe after the Maple Leaf Stanley Cup parade. Who knows?
Yes.
But you come back, kick of the jams, and I wanted everybody to know that Frank's not just a talented broadcaster who played a high level of hockey. NHL is as high as it gets. You can also shred. So there's the Frankie Corrado.
Very nice of you.
And because you love music, I'm going to give you something, but you got to promise me that you'll listen to something else with it. But this is a wireless speaker for you, Frank, courtesy of Moneris. And with this wireless speaker, you're going to listen to season 4 of the Yes, We Are Open, which is a award-winning podcast from Moneris, hosted by FOTM Al Grego. By the way, Al Grego will be at TMLX 12, which is taking place May 11th at 6 p.m. I'll see you there, Al. That's going to be awesome. But I want to tell everybody they should subscribe to Yes, We Are Open. Enjoy seasons 1, 2, 3, and 4, which is now available, and you'll be inspired because he's been traveling the country talking to small business owners about their stories, their perseverance, and I've been inspired. I'm a small business as it gets, man. Me, myself, and I work here at TMDS.
You got a nice setup here. I like this
setup. Thank you. Okay, let's spend 90 minutes on that, Frank. You've been holding on to that.
This is a great setup. You kidding me? You got the cameras, mics.
We're ready to go here, and you're welcome here anytime. Just don't hit your head when you drop by.
Yes.
One note though, when you have your old, you have your old 8-track player, Frank, because you're 30 years old. Of course, you had an 8-track player. Ha ha ha. But if you had your old tech or your devices, your old phones, don't throw that old technology in the garbage, because then it ends up in our landfills, and there's these chemicals in there, and it's very bad for Mother Earth. You're going to go to recyclemyelectronics.ca and find out a safe place to drop that off, because they've been accredited by EPRA. So thank you, EPRA, for recyclemyelectronics.ca. And one last thing, because then we're going to get you to TSN and do the sports media portion. I feel like you have this profile. You are Frank Corrado. You played for the Leafs. Now you're on TSN. You need the Moment Lab, and I would be more than happy to introduce you at some point to Matt and Jared at the Moment Lab. The Moment Lab specialize in public relations. They have a team of experienced professionals who know how to craft stories that resonate with your audience and generate positive media coverage. Whether you're launching a new product, building your reputation, or managing a crisis, the Moment Lab has you covered. I actually have a call later today with the Moment Lab and a very famous former athlete. So if you want me to introduce you to Matt and Jared at the Moment Lab,
sure.
happy to do it. They'll help you achieve your public relations goals. So speaking of your brand, please give me the origin story. How do you, former Leaf, who does a great Mike Babcock impression, but no longer in hockey due to injuries at the age of 30, I guess you were younger than that. How did you end up on TSN? Give me the sports media origin story.
Yeah, so I had done a few things as far as call-in stuff. And I had known Jamie McLennan a little bit before. I had met Jeff O'Neill before. So I had Keith Bauer, who is known as the Grappler for Overdrive. He's the producer. He's had me on a couple times over the years, mostly in the summer where it's a little less newsy and they don't necessarily need to have the hard-hitting stuff coming out of a game or day of game. And that was while I was playing. And then when I came home from the KHL, Michael DiStefano, Al's brother, who we mentioned earlier, he reached out to me. He goes, would you want to do a radio hit on the Leafs? We're going to be talking Rasmus Sandin. It'd be pretty easy stuff.
So it's Al who reached out.
Al's brother.
Okay, Michael.
Michael DiStefano's name is Al's brother. We don't, yeah. That's a whole other thing.
Toronto Al's brother. Okay.
Yeah, Toronto Al's brother reached out. So yeah, I said, no problem. I'd love to do the hit. So we do the hit. And about a week after that, he calls me, goes, hey, my co-host Julia is going to the World Juniors. Do you want to co-host Leafs Lunch with me 2 days? It's an hour show at the time. I said, yeah, no problem. That would be awesome. So Stephanie Appolito, who's the assistant program director at TSN 1050, she walks me through everything. She kind of prepared me, made me feel very comfortable with it.
Is it in studio or are you doing this
This was
remotely?
in studio.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
This was in studio. It was really cool. So it was just me and Al's brother sitting
and
there.
where is that?
talking
That's
Leafs.
Agent Court? Where are you going here?
Agent Court, yeah. 9 Channel 9, Scarborough, 401 in McCowan.
Right, but you didn't bump into Lloyd Robertson because he's long retired. Okay.
Yeah. So we do the 2 shows, and shortly after that, I got a text from someone at TSN who I had known who works on Sports Center, and he goes, "Hey, what's your phone number?" He reached out to me on Twitter. He goes, "What's your phone number? I have a TV producer who wants to reach out to you."
Wow.
And so that TV producer turned out to be Sam Cicerello, who reached out to me, and then
Is everyone in the story of Italian descent? I just want to know.
No, not everyone. The Sports Center anchor was not Italian. Yeah. So Sam reached out to me and said they have a new property starting up with the CHL, OHL, WHL, QMJHL, and asked if I would have any interest in doing the TV side on that. And I said, absolutely, yes. And then Stephanie Appolito asked if I wanted to do Leaf games with Jim Taddy, pre-games, intermissions, and post-games. So
Jim Taddy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't say it. You know we're not allowed to say it.
No guy.
Careful.
You know how many invoices I received from Jim Taddy? Because I co-host a show with Mark Hebscher.
Okay.
Every
there you
Friday
go.
morning.
Yeah.
So Jim Taddy comes up a lot because I'm a lot older than you. I'm of an age where Sportsline on Global was everything.
Yeah.
In fact, I only know Mark because I invited him over here because I wanted to talk about Sportsline. We hit it off. I now produce and co-host his show, Hebsy on Sports.
Nice.
By the way, TSN's great, but you should also subscribe to Hebsy on Sports, available wherever you get your... Shout out to Hebsy. Hebsy, by the way, sent me a note when he heard you were coming on. Okay. He's great on TSN 1050. Hebsy thinks you're doing a great job.
That's because I work with Taddy. So I do the pre-games, intermissions, and post-games with Taddy.
I'm not sure that works in your favor. Please continue.
Taddy's great. Like he puts it on a tee for you. All you need to do is know your stuff.
Yes, guy.
So that happened, and then it turned into, okay, anytime we need someone to fill in on Leafs Lunch, we'll give you a call. And then it turned into like a little bit of overdrive, and the CHL TV coverage turned into, hey, we'll give you a little bit of run here with some NHL stuff from time to time, some Sports Center from time to time. That's hockey. And then basically like this hockey season. So I started off in September doing some stuff. It was going to be like a little bit of a, let's see how it goes.
Right.
And now I'm probably working 25 to 27 days a month between TV and radio. And honestly,
that's a lot. That's a full-time job.
I love it. Like, I honestly love it. I love going to work every day. I love talking hockey. I love watching hockey. I love sitting with a producer in a boardroom watching 4 games and talking about what's the storyline here. Like, this is what happened there. I don't know. I feel like I'm back this may sound weird, tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like I'm back in the NHL. Like I feel like my job involves the NHL, so I feel that
So
purpose
I totally
again.
get that. This is your way. This is why, some former players become coaches or whatever, because that's their route back into the game.
Yeah.
You're in the game.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in the game. I feel like I'm involved in the NHL. I don't really care about like my voice per se. I just like the fact that I feel purpose. Whereas when I was injured for so many years, I felt like I had lost that purpose, where I'm just rehabbing all the time and hoping to stay healthy. And then when I'm in the lineup, I'm like, okay, hopefully I can play decent. And even though this hurts or that hurts, now it just feels like I'm going to the studio. We're talking hockey. I'm working with unbelievable people. I have not met a bad person yet. Like it's
not one.
It's not one person. It's been amazing. Like from start.
Have you met Gino Reda?
Oh yeah, I love Gino.
No, me too. I'm just goofing.
Yeah,
he's an FOTM as well. He's
nice. Yeah, I saw there was quite a list of some TSN
one thing
people.
I'll say. I think most TSN people are happy to visit and are genuinely seem like great people to me. I've had like super.
You've had Duffy. You've had Laura Dyken. I saw.
Yeah. Laura Dyken's dad lives across the street.
Oh no way! Laura's one of my favorites. She was the first host I ever worked with on TV. And you got to imagine what that would have been like for her, not for me, because she's a host. We're doing live TV, and we're doing the CHL on TSN, and we have a doubleheader. We have Kingston versus Sudbury.
Yeah.
We have Prince George versus Vancouver, and I had never done a single rep of television. Couldn't even tell you, like, they printed out a lineup, and I have no idea what I'm looking at. I have no idea what's going on in my ear. I don't know what a roll-in is. A roll-in, by the way, is the video that plays while you're talking. I have no idea what that is. Like, they're saying, they're in my ear, like, 10 to sound. I'm like, I don't know what 10 to sound means. Is there a sound that's going to come on? Like, I don't know these things. And then, even something like working the camera, they'll be in my ear, like, take one. Like, I don't know what that means. Like, and Laura, like, God bless Laura. She basically coached me through the entire thing, along with Carlo Koliakovo, who was right next to me. Thank God I had Carlo next to me, because I was like a deer in the headlights. But having those two and Laura as a host just puts it on a tee for you. And she makes her analysts look very good because of all the prep that she does, and she knows what she's talking about.
Well, small world story is that tomorrow I'm going to produce a Donovan Bailey's podcast. So Donovan Bailey's going to be here, but his co-host for the show, he'll be sitting there. You're in the Jason Portwando seat.
Okay.
So Jason Portwando would, when you'd see like a Queen's Plate, I guess it would be called the King's Plate now, but the Queen's Plate horse racing from Woodbine that would air on TSN was often hosted by Jason Portwando and Laura Dyken. So,
yeah.
a lot of connection. And I met Laura's husband for the first time recently while I was at dinner with Donovan Bailey. Like,
did he help you pick out the wine?
But you know who? That's a fun story too. Like, who do you think helped me pick out the wine?
Well, I would imagine it was Laura's husband.
No, actually, because there's a sommelier on the roster there. Keep guessing. This is you're never gonna get it.
I'll never get it. No, I've never been there, so I don't know.
Joey Votto's mom.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Joey Votto's mom is the sommelier at this place.
That's hilarious.
And she helped, and I'm more of a Great Lakes beer man myself, but helped Donovan select his wine, which was quite sad. But yeah, so Laura, got a lot of time for Laura. She was going to tease us with her jam kicking because I wanted her to come back, and she hasn't yet. But maybe she will one day. But maybe
we'll do a show like you myself, and Laura.
I've got the mics.
Yeah.
Let's do it. I would happily do that. So a couple more notes. One more from Chris Cooksey, actually, who said you got to get Frankie on, and I said I'd love to. He says that you are great on Overdrive. So you must. How often do you sub on Overdrive?
Whenever. So Jamie McLennan will do Sens games. He's the color analyst, so he'll be out of town from time to time. And then if ODog has like vacation days or whatever, I'll fill in then. So it's been fun doing Overdrive. Really enjoy it.
And here's a jam you could play guitar to. You're too young for this, but I want to know if you've heard this. But let me play it a little bit.
These are the best, better than all the rest. From the East Coast to the West, and these are the best.
I'll bring it down because the Gen Xers listening know exactly what I'm listening to because, of course, this is from the Pat Burns era of Maple Leafs in the early to mid-'90s. But you cover the Leafs, of course. You're an analyst. You're on TSN all the time. You mentioned all those hours. They're paying you, right? This isn't pro bono work that you're doing. For
Yes,
TSN.
I do receive.
Just want to make sure, okay? Because you missed out on the you got money for regular people like me. You got huge compensation, but you did miss out on the life-changing contracts that fly around the NHL.
Yes, I missed out on that. It's funny, you see some guys who made so much throughout their NHL career, and you're like, man, you're grinding. You're really grinding for a guy that made $30 million,
That's a good point. But you need to work for a living. Okay.
Yes.
And you're doing a great job. Love it. But let's be remiss. I want to just talk about the current edition here because we stunk out the joint in game 1. And then we were setting the barn on fire. I don't know if you want to borrow that analogy. I just made it up. But we kicked ass in game 2. And then game 3, we had that the Ryan O'Reilly late goal to force overtime. We showed a lot of grit. We came back. Funny little goal by Morgan Riley that found its way to the back of the net. And here we are up 2-1 with game 4 tonight. What say you?
Well, it's
Frank.
goals. It's goals they don't score often. Like Ryan O'Reilly scoring in front of the net like that. How many times throughout a Leafs playoff series have you just wanted to see that garbage goal from a guy who's kind of just planted himself in front of the net? And even the Morgan Riley one, it seems like those are the kind of goals that go in an OT. It's just a shot from the point with a ton of traffic. Even Matthews' goal, the tip-in goal, they're finding ways to score goals in ways that they haven't in the past. And when the offense has dried up for them in years past, it's because they want to score from distance. They want to score from the high slot with no one in front of the goalie. They want to beat the goalie clean. I understand having skill, and skill helps you possess the puck a lot and get offensive zone time, all that, get your good chances. But at the end of the day, there's something to be said for kind of wearing teams down, wearing down the opposition's goaltenders. And speaking of goaltenders, their goalie keeps them in that game. Game 3, that's the Samsonov game. He made a number of saves, and they're big saves for sure, but it's at the right time. That's the one that really sticks out for me, is the fact that in the past, it's Tampa can break a puck out, or whoever they're playing, or Boston or Montreal. They just break a puck out, they fly down the wing, and they score. And it's oh, man, that's a deflator. You're working from behind again. But it hasn't been the case yet. So now the challenge for the Leafs is quite simple, actually. Can you keep your foot on the gas pedal? Because Tampa's going to give you more, but at the same time, that last game, that's pretty much all Tampa's got, and you found a way to beat them.
Right.
The Leafs have more in the tank there. If they have a better game, and everyone does their job the way they did last game, it should be. I mean, you always have to temper expectations because of this team and what I feel like we have PTSD, but they should be able to win.
I was going to say, I feel often as a Leaf fan, and again, I have so many decades on you of Leaf fandom, which just means I have more of that aforementioned PTSD, but we've been here before in recent history. We've been up 2-1 in the first round several times, I think, over the last few years. And we all know that we haven't played a second round game since Pat Quinn was the coach, and that was 2004. So I do feel sometimes as a Leaf fan, I feel like Charlie Brown, right? In this, there's Lucy's got the football. I'm going to take my run, and this time she's going to let me kick it. And I always end up on my ass, okay? And I feel like we are recording this, so this could age very badly. But I'm watching a team I believe can win the Stanley Cup, and I believe that they will beat Tampa Bay in this first round. Am I just Charlie Brown trying to kick that football again?
No, I think coming into the series, I thought the Leafs would win this round. I thought they would do it. I made the analogy on SportsCenter the one day that they need to do it like a Band-Aid. They just need to rip it right off. Yeah, exactly. Because the longer they've let teams hang around in series, whether it was Montreal, they're up 3-1, and they lose game 5, and you're like, okay, they got 2 more cracks at it. Well, they didn't get it done. And then in Tampa Bay last year, they had game 6 to win. Right. They lost game 6. They need to find a way to step on it and finish it.
Fourth win has eluded us for almost 20 years almost.
Yeah, and I know it's the hardest game to win for sure, but I think the fact that the Leafs won game 3 that way, where it's they didn't deserve to win necessarily, but they found
we did not. We were outplayed, and I also thought it took a lot of luck. That one goal that didn't count because I guess the ref intended to pull the whistle.
He intended to blow the whistle. Yeah.
So that puck never was, that we got a little lucky
Well,
there.
how many times has that happened to Tampa over the years? Right? Like Tampa, you don't go to three straight Stanley Cup finals without a little luck or some bounces going your way. It's not just because you
deserve to win. It's about time the bounces go our way.
Yeah,
that was a strange game 3 because it's like the bounces went our way and it all worked out and we won. And it's like, oh, wait, that's usually what happens to us.
Yes, exactly. And you just... At some point, it's going to happen for them. They're too talented. They're too good. They make too many smart decisions as an organization for it to not go their way. And they've made good additions to the team that have helped out. Like Ryan O'Reilly, the thing that I love about that is the fact that he scores that goal to send it to overtime, and that's the way he scores. So you know that there's certain players, you're going to get what they do, right? You've added players that will do what they do best on a more consistent basis, and it makes a difference.
There was some talk, Ryan O'Reilly, Nick Foligno 2.0, but clearly not.
No, absolutely not.
Shout out to Nick Foligno, of course.
I love Nick Foligno.
Yeah, no disrespect intended here. But, oh my God, Frank, what a debut. Like, I've loved this. Is there anything, like on your drive here from the city above Toronto when you're on your way and you're thinking, I got to make sure I tell this story or tell Mike that? This is your chance because I don't want you driving home and being like, I can't believe I forgot to say X.
I don't know. This was fun. I'm excited to come back at some point. We'll
kick
get
out the jams.
Yeah, we'll get into some more stuff. This was thank you so much for having me.
I kind of think you should kick out like the 10 best jams that you'd play guitar to. Like there's probably those 10 guitar jams that you love.
Yes,
you love
there's
kicking.
like a little playlist that you hit up every time you pick up
Smoke
the guitar.
on the Water, is that one of them?
No, that's quite elementary at this point. Yeah.
There's got to be Eric Clapton in there, right? Well, Cream would be in there, right?
Yeah.
It'd be, okay.
Yeah. Zeppelin. A lot of Zeppelin.
The
best riffs, arguably.
What about Guns N' Roses?
Yeah. They tune their guitars down half a step, though, so that's a little bit of a nuisance sometimes.
Whew, Frank, love this, buddy. Damn, don't forget, I got that lasagna in the freezer for you, and
awesome.
we got to take that photo that'll follow you to your death. Shout out to Ridley Funeral Home.
Thank you.
And that brings us to our 1,242nd show. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Toronto Mike. Tell us the best ways to follow you, Frank Corrado.
On Twitter, Frank Corrado22, and on Instagram, Frankenduces.
Spell it for me. What is that, Frank?
Frank, E-N.
E-N.
Deuces.
Okay.
Yeah, like 22, deuces.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's so silly.
Racked up like a deuce, another runner in the night. Blinded by the light. Okay. Our friends at Great Lakes Brewery are at Great Lakes Beer. Palma Pasta is at Palma Pasta. Maneras is at Maneras. Recycle My Electronics are at EPRA_Canada. The Moment Lab is at The Moment Lab. And Ridley Funeral Home are at Ridley FH. See you all later this week.
like liquor.